the talk and sing the rhyme. Confidence so heavy it stops time. Eyes on the prize, yeah, that's the
Welcome back to another episode of the Speak Like the Boss podcast. I'm Anthony. This is Chase. What do we got going on this week?
So we talked about this briefly before we started recording, and I want to bring this up because this seems to be a trap that a lot of dudes fall into, and women think that they can use, for lack of a better way to put it. We got a comment about on the clip about how men get nothing out of marriage, specifically marriage. And a woman commented, "Thank God I'm Catholic."
Using religion as a scapegoat for why this does not apply to her.
Well, if I'm inferring correctly,
Yep.
she's saying it's because it's part of their religion to get married. And if you know anything about Catholic beliefs, you don't divorce. You get the man, woman, you could cheat, you could do whatever you want. You could beat the hell out of your partner. You do not divorce, or you get shunned by the Catholic Church. It is worse to get divorced than to stay around, or to stick around in a marriage, a dead marriage. You know, you guys could hate each other. You could live in separate rooms, and they believe that that's okay. And that comment just blew my mind. I'm like,
that's interesting because I didn't think of it that way.
Yeah.
Now that you bring that up, is she inferring that she doesn't have to care what the man thinks because once she has him locked down, she's stuck? Because I didn't think of it that. I thought she was like, oh, my man's going to want to get married because he's going to be religious like me.
Well, yes, she's saying that, but it's also the first thing you mentioned too, where
he's stuck.
Yeah, they're stuck. But it's not just Catholics. It happens in we live in the South. It happens in the Baptist church a lot too. Okay. You have these women who come back to the church and they're like, "Oh, I'm saved. I'm this, that, and the other." And they try to like
butterfly tattoos.
They try to be like a testimonial about how someone strayed from God and then came back. It's like, no, you're just a hoe, and now you're trying to make up for it by sitting in church. And you've got all these simp ass dudes who, quite frankly, don't have the experience or the confidence to look at you and be like, "No, hell no.
No.
I'd rather be alone than mess with you."
Right.
It just blows my mind. The fact that she commented that, regardless of what her real intention was behind it, that just proves the point that marriage is just becoming a trap.
It's a trap. Yeah. Those kind of people prove exactly what we're saying.
And that's coming from somebody who I would like to be married to a good woman, you know, to the right woman.
Right.
It just, we're apparently virgins too.
I've seen that one too.
Which
seen that comment
came from a dude, it looks like.
Yeah.
That just made me laugh so hard.
I'm the furthest thing from a virgin that I know.
Sounds like a bitch.
But sure, we'll stay with that, I guess.
Yeah, he sounds like he ain't got no balls.
Mm-hmm. Just lets the woman run the house.
Yeah.
And just
like
exists.
I mean, not to sound misogynist or whatever you want to call it, but like that literally is a comment that you would get from a woman who has nothing to contribute to the argument. She's just trying to deliver a low blow to think she wins.
A lot of times people argue out of bad faith and just don't have anything worthwhile to say. They'd rather ridicule than come up with logical retorts.
So if you see this and you made that comment, you want to discuss any of this stuff, please let me know. I would love to debate you on anything related to what we're talking about.
Sure. Same. Yeah. Which kind of takes us into today's topic. So what I did was accumulate a bunch of questions that we've been receiving from followers and listeners and other people, some of the clients asking questions about different ideas on dating, right? And want to get our take on it. So we've probably covered some of the things in previous episodes, but we'll dive a little bit more in depth here today. The first one being, do you think men and women are on equal footing in terms of dating?
Yeah, we've answered that. That's a hard no. That's a hard no. It's interesting to hear what people think, especially if, you know, you're talking to someone who's a potential prospect, or you're just trying to get an idea of how people in general in the world think about that.
What do you and I want everybody at home to think about this question too before I answer it. What do you who do you think has the leverage in 2025, the men or the women?
In terms of dating, specifically dating,
Yeah,
it's
just in dating.
1000% the women.
Okay.
Because an ugly woman can get 10 times the attention as a man like yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Objectively speaking, like it's
Absolutely.
just
They're far more desperate, the men.
well, not only that, but yeah, that's probably just the best way to put it. Men are more desperate.
They're more desperate right now. Which brings me up to something that I did post earlier in the week. I don't know if you'd seen it, but there's a person that a friend of ours follows, female friend, and she had brought her most recent posts to my attention. Going not verbatim of what the exact post was, but it was something loosely saying that a 40 to 50-year-old woman can get any man she wants, and this is just the reality that men have to accept, and that if you're a broke, balding, short, all these different things, she just threw out a bunch of paraphernalia about men, then you basically you suck. Like, I don't remember the exact, I'm paraphrasing here, but basically she just demeaned everybody. And this girl has about 190K on Instagram, over 600,000 on TikTok. So there are probably close to 1 million women feeding into the jargon that this woman spits. And that was just the first of 4 posts that were very similar. And I had no choice but to repost it and tear it a new one. I couldn't help myself.
So where should we start? Should we start with the fact that if you're age 40 to 50 as a woman, even like I would say, I mean, not that 35 is too old.
Yeah.
It's too old for me, but I'm also like 30.
To be fair, any 45 to 50-year-old woman cannot get any man she wants.
Absolutely not.
Is she out of her damn mind?
Yeah,
first off,
that's like 0.1% of women that still look good enough to pull like that at that age.
I will semi agree with her that it is far easier for a man that has figured out his finances by that age to do something rather than a guy who's kind of scraping by still at 50.
Yeah, but she also listed off a bunch of things that dudes can't control. Their height.
Right.
I'm going bald. I can't help that.
No,
you know,
there's a lot of that's right.
I can get hair plugs, but like, why?
But I'd like to reverse that on her and say, but your primary agency is your beauty.
Yeah.
So at 40 to 50, you're not as cute as you were at 24.
And it doesn't matter who you are, what you think, biologically speaking, you are not as attractive by default at that age because youth is
beauty, and the beauty industry proves that by being a multi-billion-dollar industry. And I was also going to say, when you're talking about any man you want, if you decided to wake up tomorrow and wanted a younger man, what if that younger man wanted kids? He ain't taking your 50-year-old ass.
You are automatically excluded.
Disqualified. She's out of her mind.
And not to bash dudes who marry women or get with women in their early, mid, late 30s and have children. How many times do you see women that hit that point and they get with a dude and you're like, you just look at him and you know that's one, not the dude that they would normally date or the dude that they talked about ever getting with. Mm-hmm. Like, it's almost like everything they've ever said or done or talked about leading up to that point, they just told on themselves. You know that they are settling for that guy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They end up settling. As much as she's an exception, and I'll tell you why. One, she's already got a huge following, so she's probably rich, right, on her own merit or whatever.
Or she can at least make money.
But the person who follows her also told me her backstory, and she grew up as a trust fund baby. Her parents were rich, so she's been a millionaire her whole life.
Well, her perception is completely skewed already then.
Now, she's 40, the woman, and I will give her the benefit of the doubt. She didn't look bad. She was still attractive, right? But obviously money helps with that.
Well, not only that, but no, that doesn't matter. No man in those circles are going to want to be with a woman their age unless they've already been married and divorced, already had kids, and they're just looking for somebody to have fun with. Mm-hmm. Even then, they've got money. Why would they go for somebody older whenever they could go for somebody younger?
Or older with a bad personality like that. That's the big key.
Yeah.
It's not even the older, it's the your personality is like sewer trash.
Mhm,
You know what I
mhm.
mean? So I agree. To go back to the original question, I think that women are definitely ahead in the dating market in 2025. We are not on equal footing by any means. We have overcorrected, like we do with a lot of things in life, whether that be the rainbow communities or the political landscape. It's always a pendulum. It's a back and forth. So every time we overcorrect in one way, it eventually swings back the other way. Currently, we are on the female side of things. Things pushed so far feminist, eventually it's going to swing back. And I think shows like this and other people that are out there doing a similar thing, this red pill content, is the beginning of the swing the other direction. One of the things that I've thought about this week is a comment that I see often from women are actually, and I got this from an AI bot. I had a full conversation with a feminist AI bot about this. I wanted to see what kind of valid arguments they can give me as somebody who's going to challenge their beliefs, right? Let me tell you, we went back and forth probably for like 30 to 50 messages. Okay. Big paragraph messages, like really laying into it. The argument eventually ended in two ways. One, she started going off of feelings rather than facts. And I even called her out, said, typical female response. You're not going into logic and facts now. Now you're going into how you feel.
Which is completely invalid in a logical discussion. It doesn't matter who you are, who you
Nope.
think you are,
Nope.
what you're talking about. As soon as you let emotion dictate your beliefs or the way you take your argument, you're just automatically invalidated.
Anybody watching will immediately pick up on that and say, oh, they lost.
Mhm.
Yeah. And then in typical AI bot fashion, about 10 sentences later, it tried to sleep with me. So that's usually how that goes. And I had to course correct them. But where I was going with that is that the argument that I see is that women are evolving. This is the AI bot and regular lady answer that I continually get is the times are changing. Women are evolving.
Put that in air quotes.
You are too obsessed with how the way things used to be. That's basically the paraphrasing of what an argument was towards what I was telling the bot. So I had my counter argument is I agree with you. Times are changing and women are not what they used to be. But why do you think that the evolution stops there? You are now seeing the beginning of male evolution. Now we're going to course correct accordingly as well to the new behavior that women are setting for us. So if you're okay with accepting that women have changed, you also have to accept that men are going to treat you differently right now. We're not going to open the door for you. We're not going to be the romantic. We're not going to do all these things and court you the same way we traditionally used to.
But Anthony, apparently you're a virgin if you don't open the door for a female. You're not going to get laid if you don't open the door.
Listen, last time I checked, the car door does not have a vagina.
Yeah. Hey, I opened the door twice for the chick I dated in high school.
Yeah.
I haven't done it since, and I have been plenty successful in that.
Let's go into what I just posted about an hour or so ago. Also, that you'll see the messages on the chat here and from text messages of somebody, female acquaintance of ours, sent me messages of guys sliding in her DMs, very similar to what we're talking about. That guy was telling her everything that she wanted to hear, taking this to the open the door thing and everything else. If a man does everything that you want him to do, the end result is you are not interested in him.
Mm-hmm.
That's the end result.
Mm-hmm.
She had zero interest in this gentleman. She just was looking for money.
Yeah.
And that's fine if that's what she wants from him. She was very clear in her first messages. I'm not looking for relationships. I'm not looking for this X, Y, or Z. I'm literally just doing what I want to do. But now if you can provide for me, I'll provide something for you. That was the arrangement. But he continued to say, oh, you're so smart. You're this, that, the other thing. And just keep buttering her up, which is the opposite of what you want to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
dude was down bad.
Fast answer. No, we are not on equal terms.
No.
Give that answer to the.
We can't just message a woman and start extracting resources out of her.
Oh, imagine if I DM'd a pretty girl tomorrow and was like, hey, do you want to pay for my haircut next week?
Or pay my rent?
Fuck. What kind of answer do you think I'll get? Get the hell out of here.
You got to pay for my babysitter.
Mm-mm. All right, the next question. Do you think men or women have to work harder or put in more effort when it comes to dating and relationships?
I think up front, or I should say ahead of time, men have to put in more work because, like we've discussed ad nauseum, men have to, if you're not super tall, you have to get in shape. You have to make sure that you make enough money to support the lifestyle that the woman you're courting would, I shouldn't use the word courting, the woman you're dating thinks is acceptable, right? And quite frankly, I think that you have to be able to have the experience and the knowledge to be the kind of man that she wants, whether that's putting her in her place whenever she says something stupid, whether that's having the charisma to charm her and you know, get her hooked on you. I think once the woman is quote unquote on the hook, for lack of a better way to put it, I think the dynamic shifts because, like we discussed, men give out relationships, right? Men control who gets relationships. So if a woman decides that you're my guy and she wants that relationship, she now should, or at least ideally speaking, is going to have to put in more work to prove to you that you already proved to her that you're the guy. Now she has to prove to you that she's the girl or she's the woman.
Right. Yeah. So the role changes depending on where you are in the phase of dating, right? So obviously the men should be the ones to initiate, to create interest, to be charming and witty and provide all of the resources and whether that's security, etc., that the woman is seeking to prove that they're a substantial mate. And then once that relationship begins or everybody's on agreeable terms with it, then the role changes, like you said, to the woman. It should be her objective going forward to make sure that you're just not a fuck buddy, right? You're going to be kept long term, and that this is going to go somewhere, and you prove that you're worthy of the next step, which is marriage or whatever it is that you're trying to do, long term dating, right? Next question: what hobbies are a turnoff to women? Any ideas?
Answer
long pause.
Well, answers will vary.
Okay, answers will vary. I agree with that. It's not always going to be a for sure thing, right?
Yeah, I've dated women who, if you say I play video games for a couple of hours a week when I have free time, they look at that as like a huge red flag. Man, it's so hard to give just like a blanket these things without being too obvious, right? I agree. That's a tough question because, like, if you meet a girl that plays video games, that's not going to be a red flag anymore, right? So it's going to be a very different result for everybody. A lot of people will say half the crap in this room is too nerdy to the point where it's a turn off, right? But if it's what you like and you have a valid reason or a passion behind it, then I don't ever see a problem really with any hobbies unless they are detrimental to your health. Any hobby can be taken too far, right? Yeah. So whether that's, like you said, video games or basically staying stationary for too long where it starts infecting your health and your physical ability to move around and you get fat and etc., right? Or regularly partaking in paraphernalia.
Yeah, right. Drugs of some kind, something, right? Or alcohol or anything like that too frequently could be detrimental, right? So depending on what your hobbies are, like I find, I'll flip it for a second and say girls that their only hobbies is going to hang out with friends and doing Sunday fun days and that kind of stuff.
Or going to bars for men and women, honestly.
It's not good.
Yeah.
It's not good. Like, why do you not have anything else enjoyable in your life but going to drink and be out and about and socializing? Like, I get socializing is fun, but there's times and places, and you should also be able to enjoy yourself only. So yeah, that's my red flag for that one at least.
A question I like to ask at some point when I'm dating someone in the early stages is to and you don't have to say it this direct, but I like to find out about, I like to get them to tell me about a hobby or something that they partake in that they may not be very good at, but they thoroughly enjoy doing.
That's a
Right.
good one.
So, I mean, it could be drawing or painting or
Yeah.
sewing or, you know, like carpentry, whatever,
Okay.
making little, you know,
Something that they'd
ceramic
like to
cups or
learn more
something.
about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just to see if they can be passionate about something that doesn't necessarily come super easy to them.
Side tangent to what we were just talking about with the video game thing. If somebody asks me what I like to do, if I remember to address it the right way, rather than say I play video games, I like to say that I read.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't sound as negative. And technically that's what I'm doing, because the types of games that I play is very story driven, where I'm reading and, you know what I mean, and really formulating a plot or responding to characters in the game or something where there's interactions and I'm not just walking around shooting people in Fortnite, right? So very different types of video games, and a lot of people that don't play don't understand that.
Mhm.
I will say a lot of the education that I've gotten growing up, and I'll stand on this hill till I die, is from video games. A lot of the education, the vocabulary that I have, and all of these things that allow me to speak in this manner to people is from that, is understanding dialogue.
This is going to sound like a side tangent, but it's related. Do you remember what cup stacking is? Was that a thing when you were a kid in school? Yeah. So my little brother and I were talking this weekend because my nephew just got into it. And I was looking at my sister. I'm like, where are this kid's freaking cups? We will have this kid going to state right now. Like, we both were really good. And I started working with my little brother when he was like, I don't know, he was younger. And he just started doing it because I was doing it. And so we worked on it. And by the time he was doing it, he was like going to the state competition and play. Not that it's anything crazy, but he made the comment. He said probably the two best things to contribute to my eye-hand coordination was cup stacking and video games.
There you go.
So, you know,
there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Video games aren't always a detriment, especially if in
just
moderation.
In excess, you know, in moderation, it's actually beneficial.
I'm not saying do this because you might get caught, but I do like to occasionally look at the fiction list for the New York Times bestseller and kind of at least understand what some of the books are that I would potentially read. Because I'll say that too. Like, you know, I do read, you know, mostly nonfiction stuff because it's like news and stuff like that. Yeah.
You know,
but occasionally I do like to read fiction. So like I always keep that in the pocket and it's something I can talk about if
Gotcha. Yeah, I don't think I have anything else on that one. Hobbies.
Yeah, if it's not summarize it. If it's not a detriment to your health, if you're not doing, you know, if you're doing it in moderation, I honestly I don't see how an issue unless the woman's just not into you, and then she will give herself a reason to not like that hobby.
So, next question we received is, if the initial conversation is through text, how should I steer the conversation?
In what situation?
So let's say you initially started talking through text, whether that be DMing her or a dating app, I'm assuming, or something along those lines. Let's take it and say, how do we get it out of that so the conversation doesn't get stale and get it into in person?
So I know I've mentioned I don't like dating apps on here. And part of the reason is because I just kind of, I guess, never really cracked that code. I will try to ask a few open-ended questions about the person. I hate having to come up with like a pickup line or a way to, you know, get her to start the conversation through DMs. I can do it talking to them, doing it through DMs or whatever. It never feels good to me. But once you get her to start talking to you, like I said, I think steering the conversation to something, an open-ended question or two about her, get her to talk about something. If you can relate to it or make a joke and she responds well, that's ultimately what you're looking for, right? And then I think from that point, you can move forward with trying to be like, hey, I usually am like, hey, I've got this going on, or I'm about to step in whatever real quick. You know, if you're free this weekend, I'd like to meet you for drinks or coffee or something.
Okay.
How do you feel about that?
I'm not against that. I think everybody finds their own niche for taking it from one step to another. It depends really what what they're looking for with this answer, but I would say first you have to appeal to them. So if you're strictly in the texting phase and you haven't met them yet, you have to be witty. You have to be charming. You have to say something that's not like everybody else's responses. Don't tell her she's beautiful. Don't tell her this. All these simp responses, you need to get those out of your vocabulary first, because you're going to fall in line with everybody else, and then she's not going to know which one of the 30 dudes to go on a date with. So you have to stand out. You have to be different. You have to come up with your own unique things, and also understand that you're not putting her on the pedestal. You don't even know this girl.
Mm-hmm.
She's going to have 100 flaws just like you will. So rather than put her on that pedestal, bring her down a peg. Be a little silly. You know what I mean? One of the comments we posted this week from one of our people that we coach, they made a list, I guess, or what did they say? They said something about being, by the time we go on a date,
Oh,
we're going to be in the old folks home.
Yeah, we're going to be in the old folks home, and I'm going to smoke you a bingo.
This person went from meeting this girl in a gym to getting her number and then getting blown off on like 2 or 3 dates. Okay. And he asked me legitimately, he said, listen, should I just forget it? Is she not interested? Should I just move on? And typically I'd say yes.
That's what I would do. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but here's what I asked him first. I said, to you, what is she? He said, she's like a 9 or a 10. And I don't give that out easily. Like normally I wouldn't give a crap about this girl, but she's hot. And I'm like, okay, so first things first, understand that you're probably not going to get into a relationship with her 9 or 10.
Mm-mm.
That's step one. Now, if you want to pursue this to give yourself an ego boost, to say, I got to take a 9 or a 10 out on a date and maybe get lucky somewhere along the way, great. Then this is what I would do. And I gave him the advice of tease her. She's the one blowing you off. You have nothing to lose anymore at this point. Either you're not going to go on a date still and piss her off, or she's going to come back around. And that was what he came up with. Was, hey, by the time we go on a date, we're going to be old. And he also, in that same phrase, said something about playing bingo, because that's what old people do. And he's like, and I'm really good at bingo, so I'm competitive and you're going to lose. It's like, and you don't want that, you know? So it brought the conversation back around, when she chuckled probably in real life and was like, all right, you know what? Let me give him a shot. Now they're on a date. Actually, as of tonight.
That's smooth.
So I'll find out how that goes later on. But the coaching works. Let's just go with that.
It works. It works.
Coaching works. To steer the conversation out of the text, that's kind of what you're doing. You're basically taking it to entice her enough to say, okay, I do want to go on a date with this guy, but for the right reasons. So you can go down path A or path B, right? Path B is what we just talked about. Let's say path B is, I'm going down this path because he's an interesting, charming guy, and I'm actually curious to get to know him more. Path A is, I'm going to go out with this guy because he keeps talking about how awesome I am and how pretty I am, and he's probably just going to pay for my meal, and I'm going to get a bunch of free shit out of it. So let's go on a date for that reason. Don't be that guy. Yes, you'll get the date. No, you'll never get anywhere with it. You'll never get any action. You'll never get a girlfriend. Don't do that. So that's the fine line of some men thinking that they're having success when they're just fooling themselves. Anything to add before we move on?
No, it's just I guess I should caveat, if it's not obvious.
Yeah.
I am by no means an expert with women. I'm an average dude who does slightly above average. So like that's where these questions come from me, is that my issue is I shouldn't say never. I have a hard time knowing when the right moment is to be like, hey, let's go on a date. Mm-hmm. Like sometimes it's too soon. Sometimes it's a little too late and she loses interest. I don't know. Finding that happy medium for me is rough.
Yeah. My goal for you, but you have to put it in the work, is to have you on a date within the next month. By the end of April.
I mean, I might have a blind date here soon.
That's good. That's a great start. That's what we need. But we need to get you from point A of talking to some women to being able to actually get out on a date. That's the transition we want to be in within the next month. And for him, the other gentleman that sent this in, I have a different goal for him. He's going on too many dates now, but they're not going anywhere. So now I have to sit with him and find out, why are your dates not going anywhere? Why are you continually going on dates and buying things and you're not getting laid? You're not getting a girlfriend. You're not XYZ. Why are we stuck here in the stationary position? What are you doing or saying that's happening on these dates that's keeping you leveled out? So, and that's trickier without me being there to visualize it, right? But you just have to be open as a man and really give me the rundown, because I'm not going to judge you. I'm going to tell you, this is what it is. You're going to say something and you're going to trigger it. And I'm going to be like, that's what it was. Because you just made my vagina dry up. So I need you to stop doing that right off the rip. So jump into the next one. Why do I try to solidify plans for a date and don't get the car? Why do I try to solidify plans for a date? When do I try? Oh, sorry. When do I try to solidify plans for a date? I don't want the conversation to run dry before we get to meet. So similar to the last question, trying to solidify plans for a date, you should try to do that within the first, I'd say day 2 or 3 of talking. That would be my rough. You don't want to do it day 1 unless she's obviously into you and she's persisting for it. Sure, run with it. Don't shoot her down. But most of the time, that first day is just the get to know you a little bit phase, and prove that when she lays her head down on her pillow at night, you're on her mind a little bit. She's like, that was a really good conversation. I hope you text me again tomorrow. That moment is what's going to seal the date for you. So you have to have just enough interaction and wittiness and be charming over these texts or DMs or whatever it is that you're doing, that she goes, that was different. That was actually interesting. You know what I mean? Because then when you ask her the following day, she's already anticipating talking to you again. She's more likely to say yes. If you rush it, you're going to fall into the category of everybody else. He just wants to see me. He just wants to fuck. Can't do that. And if you wait too long, you just get friend zoned. Mm-hmm. And then she doesn't think you're interested and she just moves on because she's got other guys asking. Right? So there is a fine line between too long and too soon. I have heard from other dating coaches that this goes for when you're approaching women too, that they just like to jump into it. No hesitancy, no looks, no nothing. Just go and just start talking. That works if you have the social skills and the conversation skills to be able to do that. That's fine.
You're going to get a lot more no's.
You're going to get a lot more no's if you're just blindly running into people like that. So that's, it's to each his own, unless you're some kind of Chad where you can just do that kind of stuff and, you have a greater percentage than most people. But I would say most people that probably listen to this podcast or have similar feelings or thoughts about the way that we do, they've run into hurdles with dating in the first place. Most people that are out there just getting dates are not going to be searching for help, So, should I offer to pick her up or meet her at a destination? What do you think?
I don't know, because I would have in my dating app experience, I would have one woman be like, you're not going to pick me up. And then I would have another one be like, no, why would I let you pick me up? I'm just going to, it's like, for me, I don't know. It's just, I think it just depends on the person you're talking to. It's weird for me.
Okay. I personally, in 2025, don't like offering to pick a girl up unless she brings it up. That's different. So mostly because a lot of girls don't want to let you know where they live yet.
Right.
On a first date, they don't want to have that. So it's usually pick a spot somewhat local for everybody that you can both meet at and go meet and do it that way. If it's, third date, different, then you can start offering, because then you're more comfortable with each other. I always tell most guys this, that even though sex is the ultimate goal for most men, that's also the wall of boundaries that you need to break through. Once that wall comes down and you achieve that moment, you two are going to be so much more comfortable with each other You're going to be more yourself. She's going to be more herself. You're going to be able to talk about things. You're just going to be able to hang out casually without thinking with your cock all day. You know what I mean? There's so much different dynamic interaction. Before that moment, everything both people say is almost like a game of tennis. It's a back and forth of, what do I say? What do I not say? Should I be charming? How do I say this? Do I not say the wrong thing? Because you're still trying to achieve that boundary of breaking down the walls of insecurities between both people. Once that happens, it's easy. I've seen you naked. You've seen me naked. We've done crazy things. We're already moving on. We're past this point. Now we can go hang out with the pool, and I don't have to be thinking about your butthole the whole time. Right? It's simple. So I don't recommend, obviously, women just go out and sleep with everybody to break past their boundaries. But I do think that
You're just saying that that's the breaking point.
that is the breaking point where the relationship portion becomes easier.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you're out of the dating phase and you're entering into the, I'm going to continue seeing her. And which category is she in? Right? Is she just in the funsy category, or are we actually pursuing something? So yeah, don't pick her up usually until you're probably in that later phase already. This is a long one. Do you see any potential red flags, or what red flags should I look for in someone who hasn't really dated or been in relationships? This person is 27 plus. So what do you think? Do you see any potential red flags, or what red flags should they look for in dating, or now that they haven't been in the dating world or in relationships for a couple of years?
I'm curious to see what you think about this. I would try to find a way to indirectly pry for that information, because I'm thinking, well, you're either too picky or you've got a really shitty personality, or maybe you're just too focused on your career and not thinking about a family.
Are we talking about the men or the women?
The woman.
Okay.
The woman.
The woman red
specifically.
flags.
Yeah. I mean, if a dude's 27 and hasn't really had a real relationship, that's not anything profound or groundbreaking.
No. It's pretty common, unfortunately, in this day and age. Before I give you the full answer, I'm going to lay some groundwork and some context. I think that red flags come in a lot of different ways. First off, talking specifically about men for a second, and this kind of relates to women too, but in a different way. I think men all across the board need to lower their standards. And I say this because if statistics are true, and we have men in general across the board who are pushing into their 30s as virgins, right? And this is a majority of men at this point, these younger generations of men, or they're not dating, or they're refusing to date because it's too annoying, it's hard, it's a headache, it's this, these women are this and that, right? They'll make every excuse in the book of why these women suck. And I agree with you. There are problems. We talk about them quite a bit, but are your standards looking for 9s and 10s? And if, as a blanket statement, if you have not dated 9s and 10s in the past, I think every man should not even bother with 9s and 10s.
I agree 100%.
Don't even look their direction, because I'll tell you, 9s and 10s are your ones on OnlyFans. They're the ones looking for money. They get attention from everybody. They don't need you. So unless you're a millionaire that can afford them for a temporary good time with the 9s and 10s, or have a yacht, stop. Just stop right there. Set your standards to 6s and 7s. If you get lucky with an 8, great. But 6s and 7s should be your wheelhouse, because most guys are 5. Most guys are average. You're an average man. You're not this, you're not that, you're not perfect, you're not tall, you're not skinny, you're not in shape, you're XYZ. Figure out your own flaws, right? Whatever that is, understand that you're average. As soon as you are humble enough to say, I'm average, but I want a little bit above average, which is a 6 or a 7 in a woman, now you're in your wheelhouse. Because those women are not getting pursued as much, or they're not looking for strictly money, because they're not good enough looking in their own mind, because they see the 9s and 10s too, the other women. They're going to understand, oh, I don't have a big ass like her, or I don't have this like her, or she looks way better than me. She's looking like a model, so she can get on OnlyFans. She can be the bottle girl. She can do this and that, and you know what I mean? All these different positions and roles, Hooters, and there's a million jobs. They've been around forever, right? Where they hire beautiful women. If you can accept a 6 and 7, that is your wheelhouse of these girls are going to be more normal. These are not going to be the girls we're talking about. These are not going to be the ones that are going to drive you crazy. They're going to be a little more humble themselves. Now, you still have to do your due diligence and weed them out and figure out who's who, because there are going to be 6 and 7s that think they're 11s. Move them along, right? Don't think of them. But the average girl that's going to get up and wear sweatpants in the morning and just hang out and drink coffee with you, she's probably a 6 or a 7, and you're going to be way happier than a girl that's pounding on 6 pounds of makeup just to go to the grocery store. You got to lower your standards when it comes to dating. If you're looking for fun, different. But understand that when you get into those 9s and 10s, they're not looking for, hi, I'm Joe. I work down at the Pizza Shack. Fuck, dude. You ain't got it. Go back to the 5s, you loser. That's it. Stop. This girl wants the guy with 1 million followers. This girl wants the guy with the fancy sports car. This girl wants the guy that's going to pay for her nails, pay for her apartment. If you're not that dude, don't waste your time. Look, enjoy it from a distance, move the hell on. And that's where a lot of guys stumble. Their standards are too high. I get it. We all like the little petite this, that, with the fat ass and the perfect straight hair and the sexy smile. Great. We all love that. But can we all get it? Hell no. It sucks. And the older we get, even though our looks are not our primary agency, if we're still not a millionaire and our looks are fading, it's going to get harder for us too. That's the realistic side of this whole thing. Is we talk about women and how they get older and they start to get delusional. Some men are delusional too. If you're older and your looks are fading, you have to understand you're not going to pull the same caliber of women as you used to unless you're making up for it in a different area. It's just the way it is. So I guess to get back to the original point, red flags in somebody and who they're looking, if they haven't been dating in a long time, lower your standards. Let's start there. Find somebody who's realistic. You're not looking for the best looking woman. You're looking for the most realistic woman. You're looking for somebody who's still attractive enough to get your dick up. You know what I mean? But at the same time, you're also looking for somebody who is going to be there for you, is going to be loyal, is not going to have the bad behaviors that we talk about dressing a certain type of way. They're not going to be doing X, Y, and Z that's going to annoy you in the long term. She's going to be somebody who's going to be there, like I said, make you some coffee in the morning. Hey, babe, made you some coffee. Come on, let's get up. Let's go watch our show that we were watching. And I know you've been waiting to see the new episode just came out. You're going to be in love.
Yeah.
That's what you
most
want.
of the time.
You know what I mean? She doesn't have to look perfect. She can wear a nice little thing with some boy shorts with her booty cheeks hanging out and do all that for you. Dude, that's it. That's the sweet spot. So that's my take on something like that for people who haven't been dating in a long time. Lower your standards, figure it out. Understand that it's tough to get back into this dating market, and there's a lot of shenanigans you have to look out for that we didn't have to find 10, 15 years ago. But if you're watching this show at all, you probably are starting to pick up on some of them. So figure it out. And if you still need more coaching beyond that, then you obviously DM me, ask me along the way, email us, and tell me about your specific situation. I'll be glad to analyze it and figure it out and ask you some questions and see if we can help further. But yeah, definitely stop going for the short Latina girls with the fat asses.
I feel like that's directed at me.
It's not. It's all of us. We all like it. It is what it is.
I actually have better. I have a better, we'll say, batting average. I have a better batting average with Hispanic women than I do anything else, actually.
Yeah. I mean, and that's fine because if we want to dive into yours specifically, that's probably what your type has been for a while, right?
I mean, I think a lot of guys, their type is just a pulse and a hole, but
Yeah, unless
but
that hole's surrounded by a whole lot of
yeah,
scooping and moving.
yeah. Well, yeah, yeah. But
Digging and shifting.
if you're going to talk about preferences, then yes, that's probably
Sure. Okay.
safe to say that that's my preference.
Then since we have some time here, we're running quick. We only have a couple questions left. Let's say, when was the last time you had a actual girlfriend that fit that body type that you liked?
Oh God,
Let's start there.
like a girlfriend,
Actual
because
girlfriend.
I've casually dated chicks with that body type that I decided not to
Casually dated
pursue
with physical intimacy.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. So I just want to caveat this because I was thinking about it when you brought it up earlier.
Okay.
He's wanting me to get a date, not because I'm not successful, but because I literally took a step back for like a year, 2 years. So before anybody comes for me on that, it was intentional. It was not. So prior to that, before the last move that I had, I casually saw a chick for a couple of months.
Okay, couple of months.
Yeah, before I decided that I was just
boinking buddies.
A couple times, yeah.
Couple times in a couple months.
Yeah.
So okay.
It took towards the I would say towards the end of the first month, she wanted to kind of make it official or whatever, and that's when we got down and dirty.
And why did you not want to make it official?
Because she wanted to make red flags.
Red flags.
Yeah,
she had red flags.
Yeah.
Okay, and what would you rate her? And be honest, it's only going to help you if we know what the actual number would be.
I mean, if I don't like using 7, so we'll just say a 6. If she's
7 on a good day, 6 average.
Yeah, 5 to a 6, 7 on a good day.
Okay, so she was a little above average. She wasn't like some crazy hot chick.
No, absolutely not.
Right? She was a normal girl, but fit your preferences.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
We would go out and dudes would hit on her still.
So that's my point. So if you have a girl that's similar preferences to what I like, I have found a majority of men like the same thing. We're all attracted to beauty, and we all find these same type of girls very beautiful. So with that being said, even the 6s and 7s are going to push themselves up 2 notches.
Well, yeah, of course.
Right? Which causes the bad behavior and the red flags that you're talking about, and which causes them to be undateable. So, and that was how long ago?
The last time I kind of intentionally tried to date. So, what is it? It's April. 1.5 years.
Okay. So it's been a while. It's been a long while then. 1.5 years is a long time. And I've done that similarly myself, but I was far younger. I think I was probably 22 at the time when I was just like, I am so done with these tricks. I'm gonna just enjoy my life. And the actual prior to that, the actual girlfriend was how long before that?
Well, I mean, I saw I was going on dates. It wasn't really anything I wanted to pursue past that.
Okay.
Not super frequently, maybe 1 or 2 a month, if that, when I was trying here and there.
No, the question was, were you trying to get a girlfriend or were you trying to just get laid?
If I met the right girl, I would have been in a relationship. Okay. But yeah,
the goal was to get laid, and
the urge,
maybe find
the motivation was to get laid. Yeah,
okay. And that's fair. And that's
because I've just
the reality of most guys.
Yeah. After my last long-term relationship, I just even now, if I go on a date with a woman and too many red flags come up, it's just. I think back to how that was, and it's like, do I really want to put myself in that situation again? It's just an immediate turnoff.
Yeah.
To answer your question, we broke up.
Dead air.
Early 2019.
Early 2019.
Well, I had to think about it. I had to think about it. Exactly when it was, early 2019. So it's been a good while since I've been in a long term. That one was 3.5 years.
Okay. So 2019, we're talking 6 years ago that was, and then you've dated casually since then.
Yes.
And then over the last year and a half, almost 2 years, you'd say you probably just gave up for a temporary period of time of your own choosing.
Yeah, for personal reasons. Yeah,
Okay, so
have not really tried at all until recently.
And we 32?
31.
31. Okay. So 31 years old, hasn't dated really since before 30 at this point then. Maybe at 30, exactly.
A serious relationship.
Yeah, like a year and a half, like you said, would be,
yeah.
You'd right at 30. That's tricky. You are in a good position, I would say, because you're younger still. 30 is not old for men by any means.
Shit, I feel old.
We're all going to feel older. I mean, comparably, to 20 to 30, you're always, every decade is going
Hit a brick wall.
Put some shit on you. Yeah.
Yeah.
But the proof is out there. I know I hate using myself as an example because I don't like to feel cocky or anything. I want to stay humble, but I'm still older than you quite a bit, and I still am able to figure my way out around people and women. And I don't think it's all just, some of it's skill set, some of the natural things that I've been given at birth, obviously, right? But there are things that as a man, we all get in our own heads, and this is for everybody out there, because this is the let's be real moment, and let's really dig into our own emotions here for a second. As I get older, that plays a part in your confidence, and it's never going to get easier. We're all going to continuously get older. So whatever your thing is now that causes you to take a step back and say, ooh, whether it's your weight, whether it's this, that, whatever it is that's causing you to, most things we can't fix. Your weight is probably one of the very few that you can fix. Mm-hmm. Everything else is never going to change, right? You're never going to get younger. You're never going to get probably more hair unless you do some transplants.
I don't care about that shit. Okay, so there you go. I'll go Mr. Clean any day of the week.
That's fine. Then rock that. And then I think the height, right? Whatever it is, whatever somebody feels like there is a setback. Like I can't talk to her because she's 5'10", because I'm not, right? Whatever that thing is never going to change. And my point for me, when I'm honest with myself, is I'm not getting any younger. I'm never going to look as good as I did 10 years ago. It's just not going to happen. But with that being said, is what can I still do now? Because if it's not going to get easier, I have to still optimize my chances while I still can. If I continue to wait and take another year off, another 2 years off, another 3 years off, it's going to be that much harder.
Yeah.
It's not getting any easier. So I highly, this goes for women too, stop waiting. I hate the excuse of I'm just working on myself, or I just want to have fun, or all this other nonsense that people tell themselves because they don't want to put any work in. They want to be lazy. Everybody wants to be lazy. That is American society, is laziness. That's why we buy comfortable pillows and comfortable beds and fatty foods and desserts and treats and expansive watches and phones and everything else luxury that we purchase, cars, because we want to feel comfortable and cushy at all times. We want the pretty views, so we're going to buy the penthouse at the top of the building. It's all about laziness. The whole lifestyle that we do and what we revolve around. As soon as you grasp that and understand, hey, I just want to break the cycle just a little bit and get out there and say, I'm going to change it. You'll start to figure out a way that make it work. It works for you. But long story short, I'm going on a rant here, is just we have to find a way to get you out of the hump of I'm going to be on pause.
I mean, I would say I'm pretty much past that.
Okay.
For full transparency.
Yeah.
It's not that, it's finding, and these are things we can talk about more later on the podcast too, but it's more so finding things that I can do to meet people that doesn't involve going to bars. Because I mean, you're not going to find 9 out of 10 chances. No. You're not going to find someone who's relationship worthy out at a bar.
Probably not, but you'll find excitement. And that brings up another valid point. After a year and a half, I'm sure as a man, you still have urges to go out there and meet a girl and get laid, right? So,
well, yeah, of course I do.
So that's part of the process still. So I would say at least the mindset that you had 2 years ago, 3 years ago, when you were in the active dating phase, like you said, your primary urgency to do that was because you were trying to get laid. And if the right one came around, then great, right? So revisit that mindset. Revisit the I need to get out and meet people and get laid kind of mindset, because that's my urgency. And then if I happen to come along the right one in that process, then great. But if we are strictly looking for a relationship, then I think we need to get you a dating app profile set up. I think that's the next step. Unfortunately,
hate dating apps
because I know what your lifestyle looks like right now as far as busyness, and I don't know if you have the time to just go like sit at a library and wait for a beautiful woman to show up.
I don't,
or a coffee
think I have
shop
the capacity for that.
No. So I think
it's going to get worse here in a few months too. When I do that thing we talked about, I trying to change my career. So
career paths. Yeah. Nothing wrong with that. So if your time is limited, the dating app is probably your next best bet, because I do know a couple of the guys that we've been talking to and coaching that are doing that, and they're like the one we were mentioning earlier. He's on three dates a week. It's excessive to the point where he's
kind of crazy. He's a little bit taller than me, and no disrespect to him. I like the guy. I think he's super cool. But I mean, shit, we're around the same age. If he's doing it, I definitely can.
That's my point.
A lot of my issue too,
and it's not like he's Prince Charming either.
No,
you know what I mean. So
and a lot of my issue too was, oh, you're too young, kind of thing. So I'm a little bit older now. It should be. I make more money. It should be easier.
And that's going back to what I was just telling you. Whatever is in your head, stopping you from having that confidence of saying, "I'm just going to go and do it." It's never going to get easier unless you start making more money. If money is the issue and you make more money, great. Then you'll have that at least pushed to the side and say, I'm this guy now. But everything else is going to get harder.
Yeah.
So I always tell people, just don't wait. I think that's a mistake that I made for many, many years in my life. And I hate to see other people repeat it, because I wish I knew what I know now 15 years ago. I would have been on far more dates and been far more selective with who I was decided to relationship with. Because my problem was, oh, this girl's pretty attractive and we get along, so I'm going to date you for 5+ years. And it took a lot of my youth away from me, not because I was just single or sitting around the house, but because I was actually in long-term relationships with girls that I didn't want to be in the end, and I left. So
you're saying we should go ahead and do this and not wait a few more months until I lose a few more pounds?
No, I would start now.
Okay.
I would start now. I mean, great. And that will give you more motivation, because if we're getting shot down now, that motivates you week by week to continue losing that weight.
Yeah, you're right.
You know what I mean? Rather than wait until you're at optimal chase before you go. It's like, let's just get going. Let's just get rolling and see what we can pull off, because the sooner the better. And in my mindset, if you actually find a girl who takes you in for where you're at and you feel like you have deficiencies, when you reach your goals in 3 months, she's not going to leave. She's going to be that much more happy with who you are as a new person. Right. And now you knew that she's not with you because of your body or this or that. She's with you because she liked you legitimately. That goes a long way. And that's a similar thing that, I've been in, where if they stick around through the tough times, that's great. That's a sure way that I've never had in my life to say, that's probably the right one.
Yeah.
I'm in the right place, because I know when shit hits the fan, things are going to be good still, right? Gives you a little more confidence to take that next leap. We got 4 questions left. We'll try to start rolling through them here, because we're at that hour mark. When on a date, does the situation change how I move or what we talk about? Is the goal still just to have fun?
Well, in the context here matters. Is this like a dating app date? Did you meet through mutual friends? Is this a blind date that someone's setting you up?
That's true. If you know something about each other already, like you said, through a blind date, knowing mutual people, different, because they probably talked about you already. If this is completely like, I don't know anything about you, you don't know anything about me, and we're just starting fresh off a dating app, probably a little different. I would never say to be yourself fully. Oh, yeah. But I want every guy to show glimpses of themselves, because at the end of the day, your personality is who you are. Your personality is what's going to either attract or discard her. It's only going to be one or the other. So if you pretend to be something you're not completely, you are going to be more stressed going on a second and third date because you're having to put on an act the entire time. And you're going to be like, I don't even want to do this. But if you can still at least pretend to be the best version of yourself, even though you may have those psychic deficiencies in your mind and go, oh man, this is not where I want to be. I'm not the best version of myself. I hope she's not looking at my gut. Whatever the hell it is, you can still show those glimpses of yourself, whatever that personality is, whether you're just goofy, you're silly, be a little extra here and there, but turn it on and off. A date is, you've watched Marvel. Have you seen the Loki series?
I haven't watched it yet.
You haven't watched Loki? Okay.
I'm slacking.
Okay. Without spoiling too much, there's timelines. Sacred Timeline is the main timeline going through. And then there's branching paths, almost like a tree, right? Dating is very similar, where you're going to stay on the smooth and narrow main timeline most of the time until you hit points in that date where you're going to venture off and show the different personalities of your being, right? You're going to say, at this moment, I'm going to be comical. At this moment, I'm going to be smooth and charming. At this moment, I'm going to be a little bit of a dickhead. Whatever it is that you have to keep varying into, you're always going to revert back to the straight and narrow. So if you go in, let's just say you venture off into one of these other paths and you stay there. This is something that I've seen happen. If somebody says, oh, girls just like the bad boy, right? That's a common phrase that they do, but not only, right? So if you stay as the guy who's treating her like a shithead the entire date and you can never get back to that straight and narrow, she's going to think you're a shithead. And you've been mean to her the whole date. Why would she continue? It's in moderation. Everything is in moderation. Same thing with being too nice. If you do decide to open the car door, right? We keep going back to this, but if that is who you are and you're trying to be the nice, chivalrous guy, in moderation, do it this much, and then get back to the straight and narrow where you're not treating her like a princess. Everything has to be done, just little dabbles here and there of who you are, whatever branch it is that is your actual personality, show that, but in moderation. And that is what creates a successful date. It creates a little bit of uncertainty, so she doesn't know what's coming next, which we've already talked about how mystery is what attracts women. It creates stability because she'll know that at the end of the day, you're going back to this guy. You're going to be straight and narrow. You're going to seem intelligent. You're going to seem like you have your emotions under check. So you're never going to get too excited and stay excited. Have you ever seen the guy that like wins at a game or something, shoots the basketball and thing, and just starts jumping around, getting all crazy and all excited, and he got a kiss from the girl, and now he just can't bring it back down?
Yeah.
He just acts like a donkey the whole fucking rest of the night.
Have you seen The Office?
Yes.
I'm Date Mike.
Right. Getting back to the calm, cool, level-headed guy is always the objective. So that's what I would say as far as how should you move on the date? What do you talk about? What do you talk about is realistically you want her to lead the conversation. You're going to obviously be curious about her, bring things up about her, ask a couple of questions when you're in that early phases of the date, but let her do the talking. You'll find out real quick about a girl if she's narcissistic or not, if she's only talking about herself and never asks about you. So, and a lot of them are, but you just have to understand that, is she not asking about me because she doesn't care? Or is she not asking because she's too absorbed in herself? Right? Or what the reason may be. As far as what to talk about, there's no right or wrong answer. Obviously, you don't talk about any of the hot topics, politics, religion, etc., right? None of that stuff on first dates. There's a lot of nots, like do nots, but there's not a whole lot of do's. Like the do's is pretty much open to figuring out what similar interests you guys have. So if you ask her what her favorite movies are and she says Star Wars and you're a Star Wars fan, then talk about Star Wars. Figure it out for a while, whatever that is, But That's the goal. I would say introductions, figure out family dynamics. Hey, who's your dad? Who's your mom? Do you have brothers and sisters? Where did you live? Where do you grow up? Da da da. What's your schooling like? Et cetera, et cetera. All the basics. You get those out of the way initially in the early part of the date. By then, you should guys be already halfway through the meal or getting closer to the end by that conversation. That's when you start making it interesting. By the time you're almost done with eating, or if that's what you're doing on a first date, I'm just assuming, but if that's where you're at, you want to change the conversation from boring, monotonous conversation and small talk to exciting. You want to say, well, what do we want to do? What's fun for you? Like, tell me about what you like. What are your hobbies? Let's talk about something that we can find mutual ground on. Because that's where the date is going to become fun. It's not going to be fun talking about her mom that grew up in Delaware and fucking, she don't give a shit. That's not going to be a fun date. So finding that transition period from understanding the person into creating a fun, exciting atmosphere is the key. Next one. How early in the dating phase would a girl sleep with a man? Thoughts first?
I mean, we've already said any woman would break her rules for the right guy. So it doesn't matter if she's thinking she's going to sleep with you in a month, 3 months. If she thinks you're the guy, she'll sleep with you in 3 weeks, 2 weeks. It just, the first night, it just depends.
It does just depend. Whatever.
You got to feel it out. If you go in for the kiss and she's pulling you in for more, and you're at her place, you might, that might be your opening.
Yeah. You might just test your luck and go a little below the belt and see where it happens.
Yeah. And don't act surprised. Don't act foolish if she, turns you down or whatever. Just, okay, you tried and that's not what she's feeling. Doesn't mean she doesn't like you. It doesn't mean, she doesn't want you to still be here. She just doesn't want to go that far right now.
I'll give you, this is a good tip for a lot of guys too, that you don't even think about. Sometimes you think, oh, maybe she's just not into me. Maybe she's not wanting to have sex yet. Maybe this, that. She could also be on her period.
Yeah, it could be that too.
And she just don't want that mess or to be, she's like, I can't right now. You know what I mean? Like, I'm into this, but this is what's happening.
So I since you brought it up.
Yep.
No point to say this otherwise. But you were kind of thinking there was an issue that I'd only slept with that girl twice. It's because the other 2 times, one time at least, she was on her period. So
the one you were casually seeing.
Yeah.
Well, I'm saying if you were seeing her for a couple of months though, like why the hell is she coming out to see you only when she's on her period?
That was
she
the
better
first
be
time.
Here more often than that.
Well, that was the first time I tried.
I got you.
And then we went like 2 weeks without seeing each other.
See, that was the issue probably.
Yeah.
Too much distance. Okay. Last 2. What would a man need to do or have for you to break your rules regarding dating? We kind of just went over that. So most girls will break their rules for the right guy. They'll set a lot of rules in place, but if the right one comes along that checks more boxes than the last 5 did, then they will start to alleviate a lot of their rules. Here's a side opinion, and I'm sure a lot of these people will never see it. Take the woman who sent me messages. Okay. She'll have a conversation with random guy. I don't know how this gentleman that was in the messages met her or whatever. I have no context for that. But if that person had that level of conversation with her where he resorted to money as his way in to continue the conversation, he's having a very different conversation than I have with her. Not saying that I'm doing better or worse because I'm not pursuing her, right? But that has never been brought up. My conversation is strictly business related with her. So I think different levels of men are going to be treated differently. She understands what I do and that we have this show and that we make content. So we have more of a mutual understanding of this is going to be mutually beneficial for both of us. And I might drop some knowledge on you that might help you in your life because I'm an educated guy. Whereas this guy clearly just wants one thing and she's not seeing the value from him the same way she sees value from me. She's seeing a value of him of just a dollar sign because his conversation is bland and boring other than that, right? He's not offering anything knowledge. He's not offering any content. He's not offering anything to her So what you bring to the table always matters, whether it's relationship, whether it's dating, whether it's business, whether it's, you have to offer something to get something in return, especially with women. They are all about exchange of value. So if you're not bringing security or whatever it may be, you're not doing it. Last one. Do you think? This is kind of a mixed question. Who is the prize in a relationship, the man or the woman? I think this question came in from a woman, by the way, so we'll take that for what it is. Let's start here. Let's rephrase the question into what makes either gender the prize, right?
So for a man, he's got to be able to provide a very specific lifestyle, or for a very specific lifestyle that most other men can't provide. Okay. So like, you're a millionaire, you're insanely good looking, things of that nature. Are you just the funny guy? Are you the comedian that, you know, literally everybody you interact with, they just laugh and think you're great and have all these nice things to say about you? Generally speaking, right?
Yeah.
For women, honestly, you would have to either like be a virgin,
Which is a very unrealistic.
Yeah. But in a more realistic sense, you have to be able to bring something to your man's life that is so profound and so so unique or just not common that other men look at that and are jealous of it. They're envious of it. They want that in their lives too, right? Like you look at, like, you ever see a friend or somebody who's got a woman and you talk to her and get to know her a little bit, and you see how they interact and you're like, damn, like I want a woman like that.
Yeah.
I think that would be as close as you could get for a woman being the prize in the relationship. But I wouldn't even, what's the man doing for her to provide to provide that kind of atmosphere for the woman to act like that, right? So is she truly the prize, or is that being pulled out of her because she's with such a good man?
All very good points. There's a lot to dive into with what you just said. I'll try to remember it all. We've talked about it in a previous clip that went a little, generated some comments about women being the prize, and why I told them that they can't just put on a sexy pair of pants and think that they're the prize. They're only the prize in the bedroom. Mm-hmm. Let's go into a little bit more context with that here. So what I'm saying is, a lot of women decide that they're the prize because they look good. They show up and they're beautiful and they think, this is all I need to do. But the reality is, that's a lot of women. There are a lot of women that look good. So what makes you stand out when a lot of the women look good, right? It's going to be a lot of other things. It's going to be kind of what you said is, what are they bringing as far as like peace to the table, right? What are they bringing as part as loyalty, as far as promiscuity standpoint? There's a lot of things that we're going to look at because we have to have metrics of standards. The same way a woman will say, well, he has to have this much money, or he has to be this tall, or he has to be this strong, or he has to be this intelligent, right? Whatever it is that they're looking for, we have to have a standard of metric too, so that we can differentiate. Because if you put 100 men in front of a woman, she would be able to weed them out based on her criteria, right? So men have to have a criteria, and we're very simple, so we really don't have a whole lot. Initially, it's just looks, right? It's just looks, and don't be like a drooling moron, right? But that's not enough to sort through 100 women.
No.
There's going to be a lot of, we might have 60 women left after that, because 60 of them still look good and they're not morons. So now what do we do? Right? Well, okay, we got to create new criteria to continue to weed them out so that we can choose the correct partner. And what we're looking for in a partner, you don't have to agree with it, but society deems that what we want is somebody who's not going to be promiscuous, who's not going to try and leave us, who's not going to cheat on us, et cetera, all these different things, who's not going to cause a headache when we get home at night. All of those things are what we're looking for. Peace, tranquility, and understanding. for the woman, you brought up a good point. What would make the man the prize? I forget exactly what you said, but do you remember? Just refresh me.
Well, I just listed off things like
Like
he can provide a specific kind of lifestyle.
That's what it was. So women have multiple men in their lives, and for different reasons. One may fill the sexuality box. One may fill the gay best friend box. One may fill the humor box. One can fill the pay pig box, right? So they're getting resources from this guy, compassion from this guy, a friend from this guy, and then sex from this guy. Wouldn't it be optimal if they can find all of those traits in one man?
Mm-hmm.
That's what they're looking for at the end of the day. Problem is, most men don't have all of the traits. Their traits are harder to come by in one person. Ours are pretty simple because we're looking for one thing. How many people did you open your legs for? That's at the end of the day, that's probably our number one thing. Do you still look pretty? And are you a hoe? If you're not those two, then we're okay. We'll figure it out along the way.
Mm-hmm.
We'll try to understand your personality. We'll see if we match and things of that nature. Whereas men will get excluded for one of those other categories before they even know what our personality is. Oh, his shoes were stupid, or there's a million things that they'll exclude somebody for. So, to just tap into this, since we're out of questions, as of right now, we're still scheduled to do an interview tomorrow, with a woman, that one that was in our comments. So we're going to attempt to have a very nice discussion and figure out what her point of view was on certain topics that we've discussed in the past. See if we can change her mind or opinion on some things, maybe see our side of it, so that it's not in clickbait format and full context of what we're trying to explain. And if this type of content is more viewed and more appreciated by our viewers, then we'll try to continue to do interviews once a week if we can. And obviously that's difficult because we have to find willing participants that are wanting to sit under a scrutiny, you know what I mean, in a kind of way. But if we can do that, then I'm completely open to it. So I guess this message is for ladies out there that if you're interested and you'd like to just talk to us about dating in general, I'm more than open to having those discussions and figuring it out. And we can bring on as many of you as you'd like. So friends and other, coworkers or family or whoever you want to bring, if they're an attractive lady and want to come on and just discuss what it's like for you, then let's talk about it.
The goal is to eventually get to where we can do at least small panels, kind of have more of an open discussion on it. So,
yeah. A lot of things in the work. I still completely intend to start doing live content as well. The TikTok, I didn't tell you this yet, but the TikTok is now eligible for that. Apparently you needed over 100 followers to be eligible.
I'm sorry, eligible for what?
To go live.
Okay, cool.
To just even be able to have the button to go live. So that's eligible now. And I believe Instagram is too. I will have to confirm, but I'm going to start there. I want to start interacting with people on the fly and possibly generate new viewers and things that may not see our content otherwise. So a lot of things in the work. The channel's not just going to stay the podcast, I guess is where I'm going with this.
Yeah.
We want to have different avenues of content. I want to start making some talking head videos where it's just me giving a quick minute advice, here and there, maybe a couple of those a week, so that it's just a specific topic, maybe that somebody writes in about, asks a question. Here's my quick advice. Throw it up as a clip. That way, the discussions that we had tonight come up in shorter form content with me speaking directly to them rather than them having to watch it back and forth, right? So different ideas of things that I'm coming up with. It's just a matter of implementing them and having the time to create it all. That's really what it comes down to too, is finding time, because people don't know, but I have a kid and she takes a handful of my time up. So especially in the early parts of the week, there's not a whole lot that I can do. So other than that, did you have anything else you want to close with today? No?
I'm good.
Cool. Well, I think we had another good episode. Like, subscribe, follow, do all those good things that we always ask you to do. And then
argue with us in the comments.
I do my best to respond to everybody. and like your comments, because it gives me more information of what you're feeling.
Unless you say something stupid like it's giving off virgin energy.
He didn't even say energy. He said
Whatever
it's giving virgin, and I don't know. I was
The
so
loser.
Here's my
Loser.
deal. Well, I'll give benefit of doubt and say this. I don't know if he was talking about what we were saying or the context of what I was talking about. Because he's saying like if I was roasting a dude,
Well, we were talking about, it was the chivalry clip talking about how not to hold the door open for women and things like that.
So
and the way I
that's
perceive it is that he's saying
we're
that
virgin
we're
because
virgins
we're not
because we
opening
don't
the door.
want to do that. Yeah.
And then so before I responded, I was
Loser.
saying, is opening the door giving virgin energy?
Yes, 1000%.
You see what I'm saying? So I don't, because his comment was so vague and it was poorly worded, and I don't know if he spoke English properly or not, but he never responded. I responded to it and I was like, can you give me more context? Are you talking about, what are we talking about here? So I can answer you properly, but the one and ton ghost, so who knows? Please be literate with your comments so I can assess them properly.
Or like post a complete thought.
Complete thought and not just a partial sentence like we know what you're talking about.
We're going to get like 1.5 million comments. They're going to be like that now.
Yeah, stop being stupid. Goddamn virgins. That's it. I got nothing else for today, man. We'll wrap it there, and hopefully we get these interviews going.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Gotta walk the talk and sing the rhyme. Confidence so heavy it stops time. Eyes on the prize, yeah, that's the line. Step in the room, it's my paradigm. Swipe right once, I've got the charm. Heart beats fast, creates alarm. In my zone, my calm disarms. Hand in hand, we light the stars. Speak like a boss, talk like a king. Words cut through like it's nothing. Swagger in every single thing. Crowd cheers loud, it's a winning ring. Date nights lit like city lights. VIP, we own the nights. Success in love, reach new heights. Whisper sweet and hold her tight. Confidence flows like a river wide. No need to hide, just glide and ride. Challenge me though, I've got the pride. In my world we'll all collide. Speak like a boss, talk like a king. Words cut through like it's nothing. Swagger in every single thing. Crowd cheers loud, it's a winning ring.